Hi everyone, I've had a few people request a video for buttercream. My buttercream recipe is one that I've come up with myself. A lot of people these days are doing Swiss meringue buttercream, and I am just way too lazy to make meringue buttercream. And I find that the American buttercream is just too sweet and too gritty and coarse for me. So I've come up with this recipe, which is sort of somewhere in between. It's a similar recipe to an American buttercream, but it tastes and feels a bit more like a meringue buttercream. So first up, I've got my stand mixer here with my paddle attachment. If you don't have a paddle attachment, you only have the whisk, you can use that. It just tends to put more air in the buttercream, which it can affect the texture of your buttercream and the look of it when you're trying to decorate your cakes or your cupcakes. So I prefer to use my paddle. This recipe is enough to decorate 12 cupcakes if you're piping them, or a smallish cake depending on what you're doing. So I use 500 grams of butter, so just one block of butter, and 500 grams of pure icing sugar. So it's really important that you use the pure icing sugar, because if it is the icing mixture, it's got other bits and pieces in it, I think corn flour or other products which stop it from clumping, and that means that your buttercream won't set as firm. So definitely look for the pure icing sugar. You want your butter to be at room temperature, which just speeds up the process. So just gonna chop it up. So in it goes. Scrape. Get every last little bit in there. I don't like to waste anything. Alright. And then I mix it on probably medium to high, depending on how you're feeling. But you want to mix it until your icing is nice and pale, and well, until the butter is nice and pale and creamy. Every now and again you just need to stop and scrape down your paddle and the sides of your bowl. Most mixers, especially the KitchenAid ones, they tend to have spots in the bowl where the paddle doesn't quite reach, and you don't want to end up with lumps of unincorporated butter in your icing. So just give it a scrape all the way. And then keep going again with the mixing. You can see now my butter is looking a lot paler, and it's nice and creamy. So the next stage is to get your icing sugar ready. So again, because I use the word lazy. I've been told not to use the word lazy, to use the word efficient. So because I like to do things the most efficient way, I hate sifting icing sugar. So instead of sifting the icing sugar, this is the crucial part of my recipe, I get my icing sugar in a jug, and what I do is I add boiling water from the kettle. So usually the ratio is about 5 tablespoons of boiling water for 500 grams of icing sugar. It might be more, it might be less, depending on how you're feeling, and I do mine by feel now rather than actually measuring it out, but a good place to start would be 1 tablespoon of hot water for each 100 grams of icing sugar. So just pour this in, and basically what this does is it dissolves the sugar, gets rid of all the lumps and bumps. It means that you don't have to sift, and it also gives your buttercream that really sort of silky texture that you normally only get from having a meringue based buttercream. A little bit more water in there. While I'm doing this, I also usually add my vanilla. So I use the Queen's vanilla paste because it's real vanilla bean. Just a bit of squeeze of that in there without having to actually use vanilla pods, real vanilla pods. Again, the efficient way. And if you are colouring your entire batch of buttercream a single colour, you can add your gel food colouring at this stage as well to the icing sugar. But I am actually going to be splitting this buttercream into a few different colours, so I'm just going to leave it white for now. So I'm just mixing that up. See, at the moment it's still lumpy, so I'll just keep mixing until it's more like a paste, a smooth paste. Don't want to try and make it too runny. I might have added a little tiny bit too much water here, but it's nothing to be too worried about. It's still absolutely okay to use. So you can see here, it's all melted and becomes a paste. And then what I do is I just pour it in. My bowl. Scrape out as much as I can. And then give it another mix. And then I give the bowl another quick scrape before I let it mix for a little bit longer. At this point, you want to usually beat it on the lower setting, just to avoid adding air bubbles to your buttercream. Okay, so it's now been beating on low speed for a little while. It's nice and pale and creamy. I just double check that there's no bits of butter down the bottom that haven't been incorporated. But in general, that's looking pretty good. You can see it's nice and firm and fluffy and pale, and it's ready to bake. So let me know if you have any questions. Let me know if you try my 50-50 recipe of buttercream, and thanks for watching.